coming into this week, a big one for you.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Obviously, it's great to start the year and the season off with such an important big race that we have here at Adelaide, because this race now has really become one of the real marquee races that we have throughout the year. I mean, obviously winning Bathurst is the biggest single race that we have throughout the year, but nowadays the Clipsal race probably runs a pretty close second, because it's such a tough race. It's physically quite demanding because it's the first race of the season. Now, we do a huge amount of training throughout the pre-season and during Christmas and all that to be ready for the first race of the year at the beginning of March, but you don't actually get race fit because you're not in the car a lot. So we've only done one day of testing with the car and you don't actually get race fit. So the body can be physically fit and ready to go, but actually doing the miles in the car really helps you acclimatise to be ready for these longer races. So it's physically quite demanding. It's hard on the cars, this track, and also more so this year with the new cars. There's a lot of new componentry in the car, new gearbox and differential that we run, different rear suspension, fuel tanks mounted in a different way, different type of fuel tank. So there's a lot of different stuff that we'll have in the car that we need to manage and look after over the 250k races. So it's a very different type of Clipsal that we'll have this weekend to the ones we've seen over the last couple of years. So it's really exciting to be starting the year here. Those couple of years where we didn't actually start the championship here was a bit of a mistake, so it's good to be, I think last year we started here, and it's good to be starting, the Car of the Future program back here in Adelaide with such a big event. It's a really important one.
Oldham Town too.
Oldham Town.
Well, like Garth touched on, the change that they've had with the gearbox and fuel tank moving. So weight distribution's a lot better, front to rear, but then left to right it's actually quite a bit heavier on the right side than the left, just purely for the larger, chubbier guys that can't be bothered training. So they put our driver weight up to whatever it is, 100 kilos. So it's a lot of weight that we have to carry.
On the pies tonight, we can let them put a bit of weight up.
The benefit normally of being lighter was that, or working hard to be lighter, is that you could put the weight where you want it, so you can put it to balance the car out really well. Whereas now they've said all the weight that you have to put on, you have to put it on like just behind the driver, so it makes the left-hand or right-hand side of the car quite heavy. It's got an independent rear end, like Garth said also, so the way the car's going to ride the curbs is a little bit unknown. All the testing we've done, we haven't done any sort of curb action, whereas here it's all about smashing the curbs as hard as you can and destroying the cars, which is a little bit of an unknown. Also, Garth touched on with whether the car's going to hold the distance. We sort of took for granted how robust the old cars were. You can do 500 k's around here just absolutely murdering the curbs and hitting walls, and the cars would survive. We could come Sunday and there could be 3 cars left to race on Sunday's race because it's an unknown. No one knows how the cars are going to handle it. So there's a lot of stuff up in the air. As for us for driving styles, all the other drivers keep saying it's very Porsche-like, but I've never driven a Porsche or a road car, so I'll roll with that. Garth's the same, but I don't see how it's going to be Porsche-like when it weighs a lot more and it's nothing like a Porsche. But anyway, but for us, it's the new car is very, very different in the way that we're approaching the engineering side of things with the drivers. We don't really just get in whatever it is and try and go as fast as we can. So we adapt quite quickly and change what we do and have to do to try and accommodate that. The car aerodynamically is really quite different, so visually it looks different. How it performs in the high-speed stuff is quite different. We've got a lot more front downforce as opposed to what we had last year. So hopefully through turn 8 it's a little bit more stable and a little bit nicer than how it has been in the past. But it's exciting. Bringing the car into the new generation is, independent rear end is probably the biggest change for us. It's go away from the 1901 live rear axle that you can get in a F100 to an independent rear end. So it's bringing the car into the future, and it's exciting times. Like I said, we're going to find big chunks of time. The car's relatively new for everyone. So, even throughout this weekend, we're finding big chunks of time each time we go out. Because theoretically, we've only run the car once in the current shape of the VF body on it, so we're going to be finding quite big things. So, even from the test to what we have in the car for the race here this weekend, it's really quite different, and that was only a week ago. So, we've made some new componentry and tried to fix a few faults that we have with the car, and that's going to be throughout this whole next few months. So it's going to be a matter of us staying on top of it and staying ahead of the game. I think we've got the car speed, and we're just going to make sure we keep the reliability, and definitely got a lot more car speed hopefully than we've had the last couple of years. So we're pretty confident. The car's looking good, feels good to drive. A few little things we need to tune up and keep on top of, but definitely a good feeling among the team is with what package we've got at this point in the year.
Oh, well, the first thing, the key reason why we do a track walk whenever we get to a track each weekend, and we did our
Not really
Adelaide-
smart, I don't remember.
Yeah, we forget a lot. It's predominantly, and it's especially important at street circuits, is to see if there's been any new resurfacing, if they've changed any of the curbs, whether they've flattened any of the bumps or any new bumps that have occurred over the 12 months that a street circuit is spending its the majority of its life has actually been a street. So we do that. We have quite detailed notes from the year previous about what the track was like, and then you compare your notes from 12 months ago as to what's changed at the circuit the current year, and it was pretty easy this year because they haven't changed anything. Everything's identical. There's been no resurfacing. All the curb profiles are the same. All the walls are in the same spot. So from that point of view, the track is identical. And what that will do is also give us a really direct comparison as to what the speed of last year's car was like compared to the speed of this year's car, because if there's no new resurfacing, generally new surface means more grip and it's smoother, so we would have artificially been faster if there was a heap of resurfacing. So we'll get an idea straight up how competitive the current cars are compared to last year's cars. A couple of key things about this circuit. One, and James touched on it, is how much the curbs the cars use and how much the curbs we bounce over there here. Street circuits are a lot like that. You tend to shortcut the track as much as you can, so you use as much of the curb as possible. And there's a couple of really big curbs here that we jump over, particularly at the first chicane. We'll jump over that quite a bit. And then up just out the back here, up sort of, we call it the staircase, which is turn 4, turn 5, 6 and 7. All the 90-degree left and rights, we jump over the curbs quite a bit there. Turn 8 is the fast sweeper in the back straight. That's 6 gear, around 205, 207 kilometres an hour. It's really good when you get it right. It's really bad when you get it wrong because it hurts. Both James and I have been in there, and I remember I hit the wall there back in 2004, and I hit the wall at 192k an hour. So it hurts a lot. So it's spectacular. It's great fun, and like I said, it's great when you get it right, but it's not quite as fun when you get it wrong. Some of the key passing places are straight after turn 8 into turn 9 at the hairpin. And also up to turn 4 over the bumps. I think it's Wakefield Street. So yeah, there's plenty of passing here. The cars are really spectacular around here because we do jump over the curbs a lot. And then you do get that fast turn 8 where they always put a camera right on the outside of the wall, and they get like the NASCAR shot where we all buzz past. So it's a spectacular circuit for us to go racing on, and we really enjoy it. It's funny because street circuits, all the walls are close, and that's the nature of street circuit racing, but there tends to be a little bit more room here at Adelaide. The walls are a little bit further back, so that means that we can try it a little bit harder because the consequence is only 5 metres further away than where they would be normally on a street circuit. So that means that we push pretty hard, and I have to say the cars are pretty spectacular.
It's probably like sitting in the sauna, riding an exercise bike with people throwing lumps of concrete at you and 28 other idiots in there. So it's a pretty violent atmosphere. I know probably Homebush last year was probably the hardest race for me that I've probably done in a long time. It was 65 degrees in the car, and I think we're in there 2 hours 10 minutes or something. So you can see we're not the most muscular chaps in the world. It's more of a cardio endurance style fitness or dealing with heat. So that's how guys like Russell, the enforcer, can still charge on. I suppose a lot more of it is mental strength, just to be able to concentrate on what you're doing and sort of block out the pain of the heat. It's not only that it's hot, because when it's hot there's not as much oxygen in the air, so then
why do
you
you
end
do
up breathing. So why do we do it?
We don't know how to do anything else.
But we lose a lot of fluid over the weekend, and I suppose the hardest thing with our sport, people don't realise how that it is that hot, and we're in there. We're in there for 2 hours 20 minutes, and then get out of the car, and then we're in it the next day. They're doing the same thing. Whereas the footballers, they sit in their ice baths and have a week off and get massages and all that junk, and we need help, I'm going to strain my ankle, and all this stuff. And we're like bang back in there the next day. So it is quite tough. I know Sunday afternoon you're pretty happy to be getting out of the car and hopefully spraying some champagne and have a swig of it. It doesn't take too much to get yourself pretty wobbly on the podium, but it's it is quite tough. We both have trainers that we train with 6 days a week. Do a lot of cycling for sort of cardio exercise. It's good because it's long periods of time, sustaining a high heart rate, and then also we do the weight sessions we do are mainly body weight, so you're manipulating like push-ups, sit-ups, and all that sort of stuff, elevating your legs. all that sort of stuff. But not so much with pushing big bench weights or anything. Beach curls, that's the lady muscles. But it is pretty challenging. We've both had heaps of footballers and guys from other sports in the car, and they don't realise when they get out and they're sweating and they're like, holy crap, how do you guys do it? So it is quite unique. People think you just sit there. I drive a car every day, can't be that hard. Just turn a steering wheel, slap some pedals, and pull a lever, and you're away. And you're sitting down doing it. But it's actually pretty violent, also with the G-forces of braking and stuff. But last thing we need is you've slugged it out. You've done 200 k's around this place. It's starting to get pretty hot. And you don't want to start to think, geez, I'm getting tired because you're in between two concrete walls, going around a corner doing 207 kilometres an hour. So you've got to be on top of your game and not have to worry about that sort of stuff. So we take it pretty seriously. We have a guy that comes and monitors what we eat over the weekend, fluid intake and all that sort of stuff. So it's pretty serious, and I really enjoy it. I get off on the side of things. So something that it's not really bothered, and everyone I know Garth enjoys it as well. So it's a good part of what we do, keeps us healthy.